So you think you might have a bad turbo?
Hey everyone, thanks for clicking on my latest episode. So anybody who's been following me along on my social media and my YouTube channel know that I'm pulling this awful K03 turbo out of a Jetta and putting in this awesome K04 turbo. The problem is all the footage that I filmed, it's coming out to be a couple hours worth that I want to put out there. So just removing this turbo alone is an 1.5-hour episode, and then putting in this turbo is going to be an hour-long episode. But there are a couple of important things that I wanted to show people so they didn't have to dig through 2.5 hours worth of footage. I decided that I want to separate some of the important things. One of the videos are going to be removing the exhaust manifold. Those bolts are really hard to get to. Getting the cold air intake off of the turbo. Getting the intake charge tube off of the turbo going down to the intercooler, and then removing the oil line bolts on the bottom of the K03. Those oil line bolts apparently are a common problem with being stuck, and I figured out a way to get it off without having to do too much crazy things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this introduction and insert it in those videos, and I want to insert those videos here. So this portion of the video that I removed was the section where I pulled the intercooler piping from the back of the turbo. It wraps over the top of the exhaust and down the back of the engine to the intercooler. I wanted to show how to do this because it was a little bit of a pain, and you have to do that to get to the exhaust, and I thought it was important to show how to do it. So what I'm going to do is insert that video here now so you guys can watch it. Intercooler pipe. So what happens is the turbo produces boost pressure. It goes through this intercooler pipe into the intercooler, into the intake manifold. So that has to come off, and then the exhaust manifold is under that. So the next thing I'm taking off will be this intercooler tube, or charge tube, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is there's this heat shield on here that needs to be removed. It looks like it just pops off and then comes out of the way. That's a nifty design. Oh. It has some really small clamps on it. Looks like they're about 8 millimeters. So you're gonna grab yourself an 8 millimeter socket. Actually, this is an 8 millimeter. It's even smaller. It's about 7. Now, once you get those clamps off, you're able to get this rubber coupler off, or rubber hose, whatever you want to call it. There's also two 10 millimeter bolts here and another one down here. I'm going to remove those as well. Sorry, there's 2 more down here. The intake pipe is using these half moon clamps. Well, at least that's what I call them. I'm sure there's another name for them. I'm gonna go put this car up in the air and then see what we have to remove underneath. Okay, so I have you guys on my lighted rig, and you see right here is the lower half of the intercooler pipe, and it goes up to that part right there, and there's a clip that I need to remove.
and it'll allow me to get this off and out of the way. That's what I'm gonna try and film. It's in a tough spot, but I'll do the best I can. Okay, so this up here is that intercooler pipe. You need to remove this in order to get the charge pipe off of the turbo up top. There's a funky clip that of course is on the opposite side, but you can rotate this around, and then here's that clip. Once it's removed, the intercooler pipe should pop off. It looks like it's actually good enough. It might just pull out, or I might need to use a flathead, so I'll do the best I can to get that footage for you. And yes, there's a lot of oil coming out of the turbo because the turbo is bad. The other thing I noticed is if you look at the entire intercooler pipe, it actually goes to right here. I think I'm just going to remove the entire thing, so I'll set you up in a different spot and I'll pull the whole thing out. I'd rather do that. Okay, so obviously the intake pipe or the charge pipe to the intercooler has been removed. The next thing I need to do is drop the car back down and then show you how to get the upper part of the charge tube out. So I'm going to switch you guys over now. Okay, so this upper one comes off. Once the bottom is detached, I am just going to cut this little hose because we can just reattach it later.
So as you can see in the video, the oil was saturated on the inside of that pipe. That's due to the turbo seals leaking or potentially a bad bearing. Who knows what's causing it, but it is in there, and it was important to pull that out of the way so you can get the K03 out and put the K04 in. So instead of burying that into a long 2.5 hours worth of footage, I just wanted to remove that portion of the video. I thought it was important for people to figure out how to get that thing off. And it's a good way to tell if you have something going on, because this car smokes really bad, and it's because oil is getting into the intake and inside the engine and into the exhaust. So thanks again, everybody. I appreciate everyone who's liking and subscribing and keeping in touch and commenting. And if you have anything you want to say or let me know, please comment below or email me. Thanks again, everybody. I appreciate everyone's support. Have a nice day.